Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are looking at something deeply empathetic, I think. It's something that every single person goes through when they're learning a new language, especially English. That moment of catastrophic failure. When you're tired, you're stressed, and, well, everything just goes wrong.
That's so true. We tend to focus on things like vocabulary lists, grammar rules. But the real deep dive for a learner is understanding the psychology of making a mistake. So we've gathered a collection of real-life, sort of high-stakes language gaffes.
The ones that make you wish you could just disappear.
Exactly. The ones that make you want to teleport off the planet. And we're going to use them to find the patterns.
Right. Our mission here is to give you a shortcut. Because if you can understand why these specific embarrassing mistakes happen, you can kind of preload your brain with defenses. We want to make sure you leave knowing how to spot and, maybe more importantly, how to recover from these traps.
And we really have to start where most of these mistakes begin, which is just, simple everyday exhaustion. What happens when you try to say, I'm tired, and it causes a total cognitive traffic jam in your brain?
Okay, let's unpack this. We have the classic scenario. We're calling it the Disaster Tuesday. So imagine someone in a really demanding international job. They're sleep deprived. All they want to do is tell their boss, I didn't sleep well. I feel a bit tired. Simple, professional. That's the goal.
But the moment their mouth opens, the brain, which is under all this pressure and fatigue, it just defaults to the easiest word, or maybe a word that feels close. So instead of tired, which is the precise physical state, outcomes, I didn't sleep well, I feel a bit weird.
And the boss, of course, looks concerned. Are you okay? Are you unwell? And this is where the breakdown really happens. Instead of just going back to the simple, correct word, the speaker tries to explain this vague feeling of weirdness. And that leads to this magnificent gaffe. I think my body is not in the mood.
It's fascinating, right? Because what's happening is that stress is impairing their executive function. Your brain loses its grip on precise words when you're that tired. Tiredness sort of bleeds into weirdness, which then just collapses into mood, a word we use for emotions, not for physical states.
It's like they've personified their own body and are now in this bizarre negotiation with it.
Exactly. It's a linguistic short circuit.
So for you, the listener, the lesson here is that complexity is the enemy when you're not feeling well. Just dial the vocabulary back to kindergarten level. Tired, sick, need coffee. Don't try to explain the philosophical struggles of your own biology.
Right. So if mental exhaustion causes that kind of slippage, what about phonetic exhaustion? When you're rushing your speech, how does that lead to high-stakes public embarrassment?
Oh, exactly. Let's move into what we're calling sound traps.
Okay.
Those minimal pairs that are almost identical except for one tiny, dangerous vowel.
And the power of that one little vowel is just immense. It can turn a polite request into something, alarming.
Okay, take the cafe conundrum. You're freezing. You're in a cute, quiet cafe. You want that perfect warm drink, hot chocolate. But because the catch sound and the tit ending are a bit similar to other words, the speaker, feeling confident, says to the waiter, "Can I have hot chicken, please?"
And you just have to imagine the scene. The poor waiter, they have to process this. Hot chicken, that's a dinner order. It's a roast, maybe, not a cozy drink. The whole context is broken, and the learner knows it instantly.
The desire to just vanish into thin air is so real.
Yeah.
But the stakes can get even higher with those famous danger words. I've confessed this one myself. I told an entire class, let's all focus on the sheet, but I said it just a little too fast. I clipped that long E sound. The whole room just stopped breathing.
We really need to drill down on the mechanism here because this is probably the most common phonetic trap. The difference between the long I sound, like in sheep or sheet, and the short S sound in ship or the other word, it's entirely mechanical. It's about your mouth.
Okay, so what's the physical difference? How do we train ourselves to make the safe sound?
Well, for the long I sound, your mouth is almost closed. Your lips are stretched a bit, like a small smile. Try it. Sheet, beach. Your tongue is pushed forward and high up, but for the short sound, your jaw drops a little. Your mouth is more relaxed. The sound is shorter. So if you rush the long vowel, your mouth doesn't have time to get tense, and it just relaxes into that short, dangerous sound.
So the immediate takeaway for you is, if you are saying sheet, as in bed linen, or beach, the sandy place, or peach, the fruit, you have to intentionally slow down, extend that sound. If you rush, you automatically fall into the danger zone.
And while we're on sounds, we can't forget the emotional confusion, mixing up hungry and angry. We heard about the coworker who, just wanted to say they needed lunch, but instead they declared, I'm angry. which of course prompted a very concerned, immediate discussion about who had upset them.
That's such a great example because the two things are often linked, right? We even say hangry in English, but linguistically, they're worlds apart. I am angry signals a threat. Emotional distress, I am hungry, just signals a need for food. That one little vowel, A versus U, changes everything from an internal need to an external conflict.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, all those examples were failures of real-time speech. But now, let's shift focus. What happens when the mistake isn't about sound, but about cognitive substitution when you're writing? This is where you actually have time to check your work.
And this is often where one wrong letter just causes maximum chaos. The classic office example. The person wants to write a simple routine business phrase. Please find the attached file, a staple of office emails everywhere.
But the brain is focused on speed. It sees the word starts with AT, and it just substitutes one letter cluster for another, so the phrase becomes, please find the attacked file.
And the confusion that followed is just brilliant. It shows a total breakdown of context. The coworker replied, "Who attacked the file? Is it okay? Is our data security at risk?" A routine task suddenly becomes an urgent IT crisis.
What's happening there is something we call cognitive proximity. Attached and attacked share similar letter patterns. They're pulled from this cluster of common workplace verbs, and when you're proofreading, your brain knows what you meant to type, so it just skips right over the mistake.
That failure point is so important. It shows that even one letter in an email can completely derail a conversation. Okay, let's look at a similar error, but one that breaks down destination.
The transportation misunderstanding. A passenger gets into a taxi. The driver asks, where to? The noun they need is airport, but what comes out is, take me to the important.
Wait a second. So, unlike attached and attacked, airport and important are completely different concepts. One's a place, a noun. The other is an abstract adjective. Why would the brain mix those two up?
That's the fascinating part. They are phonetically and structurally close. They share those crucial opening sounds. Import versus airport. So under pressure, like being late for a flight, the brain isn't searching for a concept. It's searching for a word structure that matches the sounds it's trying to retrieve. And it just pulls the most common high-frequency word with that structure, which for many learners is important.
That makes so much sense. And the context, being in a taxi, should have fixed the error, but the pressure just stopped that final check. The driver's simple question, important what, just highlights how absurd it is.
Right. So now that we've covered sound errors and these contextual written errors, we need to focus on a set of mistakes that fundamentally change who the speaker is. These are grammatical errors that confuse an internal feeling, which is a passive state, with an external quality, which is an active description.
Ah, yes. This is where we deep dive into the classic Ing versus Eddie rule. You really have to get this one locked into your memory.
It's pretty straightforward, actually. If a word ends in ed, you are describing a passive feeling you are experiencing. You are the recipient of the emotion. But if a word ends in ed, you are describing a quality of the cause of the emotion. You are the active source of the feeling.
Let's apply that to a really common mistake. Mistake number one, saying, I'm boring. The person means to say, I'm bored. But by using the ing form, they are actively telling everyone that they themselves are the cause of boredom for other people.
And the reverse happens in mistake number two. This one leads to these hilarious, if a bit unwarranted, self-declarations, saying, I'm exciting, when you really mean I'm excited. If you say you are exciting, you are claiming to be a thrilling, dynamic person.
Okay, let me challenge you with a quick check here, just to make this solid for our listener. If I pick up a novel and I say, this book is confused, what does that actually mean?
Oh, okay. That would mean the book itself is the recipient of the confusion. The book is feeling confused. And since a book can't feel an emotion, that's grammatically impossible. The correct phrase would be, this book is confusing, meaning the book causes the feeling of confusion.
Perfect. So if I say, I am confused, I am receiving the feeling, that's why I need help. This distinction is just. It's so vital for avoiding massive misunderstandings about your own personality.
And we can't leave this section without the high-stress semantic error that happens during pure panic. The student who went to their teacher and declared, "Teacher, I lost my mind," when the real situation was much, much simpler. I lost my keys.
The teacher probably thought they needed immediate medical help, not just a trip to the lost and found. And all these stories, from the lost keys to the attack file, they all share a common thread. It's panic. It's the inability to quickly grab a simple, pre-prepared phrase.
And that brings us to our practical learning break. We have to give you the tools for Well, for conversational recovery, when you're having a truly bad day and your ability to form a complex sentence is just zero, you need simple, idiomatic phrases you can use as a shield.
This is the strategic part. Using an idiom like, I'm having one of those days. It signals to a native speaker that you're in a state of mild, acceptable stress. And it doesn't require any further detailed, high-stakes explanation. You avoid having to say your body is not in the mood.
So here are 6 useful expressions pulled directly from our source material for those moments when communication just fails. Deploy these instead of panicking. Number 1, everything is going wrong today. It's a simple description.
Number 2, I'm not feeling like myself. This signals a temporary internal shift.
Number 3, I'm having one of those days. That's the universal idiom for this feeling.
4, nothing is working out. A general complaint, you don't need to give specifics.
5, I need a break, which is a clear, concise request.
And number 6, today is not my day. A short, simple summary.
Having those 6 phrases ready to go is like hitting the safe mode button on your brain. It buys you time, it lowers the pressure, and it dramatically reduces the chance of falling into one of these traps.
So if we summarize the core takeaway here, it's that learning English is stressful. Days when you forget simple words or say the wrong thing are not just inevitable, they're actually a necessary part of the whole process. The goal is never perfection.
Exactly. The goal is just to communicate. And what's really empowering about making mistakes is that they're sticky. They help you remember things better, especially if you can laugh about them. That's the fastest way to improve. Every mistake is just data.
The goal is recovery, not prevention. I like that. Okay, so let's leave you with 5 essential affirmations. Things to pull out whenever a truly disastrous communication moment happens. Just repeat these, maybe internally. The moment you realize you asked for hot chicken.
I'm having a bad day.
I made a funny mistake.
It happens. No big deal.
I'll try again.
I'm learning, and that's what matters.
And building on that idea, communication over perfection, here's a final thought for you this week. We've given you a lot of these high-stakes word pairs, chicken, chocolate, attached, attacked, airport, important. Which one is your personal danger zone? Which one are you most likely to confuse when you're under pressure? Take just those 2 words and actively practice them separately this week. Say them in full sentences. Pay attention to the mechanics of the sound like we discussed. Because knowing and drilling your own personal weakness, that is the ultimate shortcut to fluent, confident communication. Go find your danger zone.
All right, let's dive in. Today we're talking about one of the most universal, and let's be honest, one of the funniest parts of learning a new language, the mistakes. We're going to look at some amazing, embarrassing stories that prove if you've ever said the wrong thing in English, well, you're in very, very good company. Oh, come on. Who hasn't been there? That split second right after the words leave your mouth and your brain just goes, wait, no, that is not what I meant to say. It is a feeling that every single language learner knows deep in their bones. So let's kick things off with a perfect example of this. It's a classic case of how a really simple intention can take a very, very strange detour.
Okay, so picture this. You're at work, your boss walks by and asks how you are. You didn't get much sleep, so you just want to say you're a little tired. Super simple, right? A totally normal, everyday thing to say.
But instead of tired, the word that tumbles out is weird. Now just imagine your boss's face. All of a sudden, a simple "how are you" has turned into this moment of deep concern. Are you sick? Are you okay? The confusion is instant. But here's where it gets truly amazing. In that moment of panic, trying to fix the mistake, our hero comes up with this absolute gem. I think my body is not in the mood. I mean, it goes from slightly confusing to pure comedy gold. It's technically wrong, of course, but emotionally, you know what? It might just be the most accurate description of a Monday morning I've ever heard. All right, let's keep this going and look at a few more classic mix-ups, because these stories really show how easy it is to fall into these little language traps, and honestly, it's why the whole process is so darn memorable.
So let's set another scene. It's a chilly day. You step into a nice, warm cafe, and all you want in the world is a cozy cup of hot chocolate. It's a simple, comforting request. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, there you go. This shows how just a couple of similar sounds can change absolutely everything. Chocolate becomes chicken, and suddenly you've ordered, a boiled bird in a mug? You can just perfectly imagine the polite but very confused look on the waiter's face. Okay, now let's jump from the cafe to the office. This is a place where a single typo can create a whole new kind of drama. The goal is simple, right? You just need to send an email with an attachment. But instead of attached,
It comes out as attacked. It's just one letter off, but wow, what a massive shift in meaning. Your email is no longer a helpful message. It's suddenly a crime scene report for a poor, defenseless digital document.
And the reply is just perfect. It shows the genuine concern and total confusion that one little typo can spark. You can just feel the sender's soul wanting to crawl under their desk and never come out. It's a great reminder to always double-check your spelling.
And this all brings up a really crucial point. Some words are just linguistic minefields. I'm talking about words that sound so similar but have wildly different meanings. You might be trying to talk about a nice day at the beach, but one tiny slip and you said something completely different. Or you could be asking someone to focus and, well, you get the idea. Getting these wrong is practically a rite of passage for every English learner.
And here is another absolute classic. The whole ing versus ed thing with adjectives. It's so easy to mix up. If you say, I'm boring, you're telling people that you think you're a dull person. But if you say, I am bored, you're just describing how you feel right now. One is about your personality, the other is about a temporary feeling. It's a pretty important distinction to get right, especially if you're in a business meeting. So, all jokes aside, a lot of these mistakes tend to happen on what you might call bad English days. So let's talk about that for a second, because realizing it's okay to struggle is just as important as being able to laugh at the funny mistakes.
And this is just so important to remember. We all have them. Days when your brain just feels like it's full of fog, when simple words you know suddenly disappear, and you just can't seem to string a sentence together. That's not a sign that you're failing. It's just a normal and honestly an unavoidable part of the journey.
So, what do you do on a day like that? Well, you can actually learn to talk about it. Here are some perfect, really natural phrases you can use when you're just feeling that frustration. Being able to say, ugh, today is just not my day in English is a skill all on its own. It gives you and everyone around you permission to just be a little imperfect.
And that leads us to maybe the most important takeaway from all of these stories. Because under all the humor and the awkwardness, there is a really powerful lesson about what it actually means to learn a language. This right here, this is the mindset shift that changes everything. Every time you order hot chicken or send in a tagged file, it's not a failure. Not at all. It's a little piece of data, it's a funny memory, and most importantly, it's solid proof that you are brave enough to get out there and actually try. And to really hammer this point home, here's one final beautiful mistake. Someone gets into a taxi, and instead of saying, take me to the airport, they confidently announce, take me to the important. You can just picture the taxi driver trying to figure out if this is the start of some kind of secret spy mission. And that story just perfectly sets up this last really critical question. What are we even doing this for? Is the goal to have perfect grammar? Is it flawless pronunciation or knowing a million vocabulary words? Or is it something else entirely? And here it is. This is the heart of it all. The person who asked for hot chicken, they eventually got their hot chocolate. The person who sent the attacked file, they still got their message across. And the person who wanted to go to the important, they made it to their flight. So laugh at the mistakes, absolutely learn from them, but never forget that every single word you speak, whether it's perfect or not, is a victory.